Morning everyone. My name is Irfan Sayed and I am going to handle the subject called Web Application Development for second VCA. So the topic, the content I need to be explained in this video is version control system using Git. So these are two topics actually, version control system and Git. So first we are going to know about the version control system. Then we are going to use the Git tool, how we are going to utilize the version control system for Git. So first one is problem. So why do we need to version control system anyway? So let me go with the one project. So in a project, maintaining group projects. So mostly a project means at least five to 10 people are working on a project. So individual having their own work, if they completed their works, they are going to share their work through mails only. So it is difficult to roll back to the manager. So almost impossible to maintain those if the number of people are working with same project is a large. So we can't maintain those works at all. So that's why we need to use the version control system. So what we think about the version control system is simply the one document we share to the group peoples, they are doing their works and they are sending one document to the manager and that is will be going to the end of the version control system. But it is not an actual version control system. So how version control system actually work is, so first one is, let me go to this example, final.docs. That is a final document from the manager. He sent it to his teammates. So individual having their own works. So everyone split their works to separately. Then they are going to do their work on that particular field. So for example, the first one, final from notes, it is allocated to some one person. Final revision for extra, that is allocated to some other persons. So template work is allocated to another person. Template verification is allocated to other persons. So these things are going to be merged with the final one. Then it will be sent to the final version control system. So that is how the version control system is working. So version control system, what is it? So a method for recalling version of a code base. That means the entire the version control system means it keep tracks the entire data. So who are doing the work and who are committing the codes, who are changing and when they are changing, particular names. It will display who changed the codes and who committed these plays. So why we need to use the version control system? So I have already told you that we need to be a particular planning how we are going to complete that particular project. So when things are doing these works, so version control system is going to handle these things. So who are going to be using these things? So everything is individual. That means everyone is going to do their task. So a version control system allows multiple persons are doing work on the same place. So same stationary we can call, and it merge all the same files and handle the conflicts. And it gives that it gives the information that who made which changes. So we can if the work is good, so we can praise him. So if the work is not good, we can blame him. So that's why. So there are basically two types of version control systems. So centralized VCS and distributed CCS. So first we go through centralized CCS. What is mean by centralized CCS means a single authoritative data source. So checkouts and check-ins are done with the reference of this centralized repository. That means only one central authority will have. Let me go to next. So you can see here repository. That means it is a centralized version control systems repository. So working place, working copy. I mean, three people are working, so they need to do their works and they do the commits and updates to the direct repository. That means centralized version controls. So the example for centralized VCS is concurrent version systems and subversions. So next one is distributed VCS. So no single repository in authoritative. So data can be checked in and out from any repository. So you can see this distributed version control systems. So the three people are working in the same place and they have their repositories. So they are doing commits and updates on their repository. Then they are going to pull and push their repository to the main centralized where the final repository has in the distributed version control systems. So example is Git Mercurial. So what are the features and what is the difference between centralized and distributed? So architecture, if you go through architecture, centralized is centralized, distributed is distributed version control system. Repository location. So all the things in centralized version control system is handled by central server. But when it comes to distributed version control systems, all are local copies. I mean, locally we can do the things. Offline work is not possible in centralized version control systems. So distributed version control system supports offline works because we are going to do the work in our local platform. So when compared to the performance, so distributed version control system is, faster than centralized version control system. Failure impact. So when the server goes down, the centralized working systems server will be in the risk trouble. So, but in case to distributed local systems, so it doesn't depend upon the server. It depends upon the local copies. So now we are going to discuss the distributed central version control system for one part. That is Git. So Git is local. So Git is a free and open source fully distributed version control systems. It tracks the contents. So it having the 3 stages. So it is actually created by Linus Torvalds in less than 2 weeks, centrally maintained by Juno C. Hamnover. So there are 3 types of working stages. So working directory, staging directory, and Git directory. That means the repository. So these are the basic commands that every developer need to be know about these commands. So getting started, that means if the Git is need to be running, we need to give the command as git init. Initialization. Git clone. If we need to clone one repository from GitHub to our branch, that means we are going to use the command called git clone. So preparing for commit, commit changes, we need to be do commit changes or pullback or pushes. Those will be done with these commands. Working with the others, that means git pull, git push. These are going to be work with the, pulling that and pushing the project to the GitHub. So here is one example for those commands. So I am going to, whether I'm checking that any logical I will have. The command is git log. So first I have not initialized that one. So it was saying that when I give the command git log, Patel not a git repository. That means I didn't do any cloning from the any repository. So that's why it was given the Fatal, not a git repository. When I am going to use the git clone command to clone one of the repository from my GitHub as a portfolio. So cloning is done, cloning into portfolio. That means it was cloning the entire portfolio from my repository to the my local computer. Then I am giving the same command as git log. Then it was showing your current branch is master. That means my branch is shifted to master. So this is how the Git is going to do the things. So we have already told you 3 places: workspace, local repository, then it is going to the final repository. So commit A, that commit -a, that means we are going to do a commit in our repository. So add -u, that means we are going to adding one thing and then we are going to the commit changes. So the entire thing is going to the final repository only. Thank you.